A lot of songs I've written, about 200. I know more than 200. It's been more, and now I'm starting to forget like the names and things. But there is a song that's called "What Is Love," and it's not the very first one, but that is the one I remember. I remember the melody. I think sort of kind of like the melody of some earlier ones, but that's the first one I really remember, and I think I worked really hard on it. And it actually went into my very first recording project, which was in 1992, 93 I should say, 93. And a lot of guys got together with me, Leon Jordan, Timmy Hudson, Cliff Kellum, Jeff Lee Johnson, the late Jeff Lee Johnson, the guy named Tim Petrosky. I haven't said his name in a while. Tim Petrosky. Oh boy, he's Tom Petrosky. That's his name, Tom Petrosky. Yeah, there were a lot of people that actually came out. We had rehearsals, went into the studio. I didn't know how much it would cost, to do my first project, and I learned very quickly it's very expensive. But I remember finishing that project with a song called "Too Late," and one of the reasons I remember the very first, the song "What Is Love," it was one of those songs I actually spent some real time on, a lot of time on. This was before I can actually write a note. And Jeff Lee Johnson took this great solo. I wish I had it still, but I don't. He took this wonderful solo. He came in, and I remember this day because Jeff was doing all kinds of stuff, and I had everybody came in for at least 2 or 3 rehearsals. And Jeff said, "I'll meet you at the studio." And I knew Jeff was, I knew Jeff, and Jeff didn't know that we were doing a whole album. I told him that, but he didn't put that together. So he said, he got with me in the studio, and he said, "Oh, I was wondering why you wanted to do some rehearsals and things." And he said, "Look, man, I'm not gonna hurt you." He got on his telephone. He cleared his schedule for 2 days. He called, I don't know who he called, but he called somebody, and they cleared his schedule for 2 days. So I'll never forget Jeff Lee Johnson for that, and that song has that kind of meaning, meaning for me, and I do look forward to reproducing that song. I was fortunate that I had a dad that listened to music, didn't matter what the genre was. So when I was a child, I heard Roy Clark, and then I heard the Whispers, and then I would hear Bing Crosby, and then I'd hear somebody like Luther Vandross. So it was the gamut. I was just hearing all kinds of music, and then because of my background, because our roots are from Angola, my first generation, my father had music from his country, and he had music from some of the other African countries. So I got to hear like the Dr. Nicole and some Congolese music, some music from Sierra Leone, some music from Angola, South African music, and as well as the American music. And so that was, and of course they had that Portuguese connection, so I heard some Portuguese songs. And so that gave me, I think, a place where I didn't listen to just one genre. I kept listening to classical. I still do love listening to classical music. I listen to rock, light rock. That's probably the only genre that I never really got into, was the really heavy metal. But I've listened to a few of them just because I wanted to understand it. And when it comes to inspiration, there are people that are close. I mean, there's a living person, Joylette Harris. I've heard her sing. She's an inspiration. I've heard some other people. Simpson, I think Joy Simpson, I think it is. Joy Simpson, I think is her name. I can't remember, but I know it's one of the Simpson sisters. And there was a guy named Ricardo Martin who he kind of took me under his wing when I was in middle school. He was my middle school teacher, and there were a group of us he took under his wing. We ended up going to churches, singing in churches, singing in theaters. Later, in my high school years, became a group called Perfect Timing. And we were on this Philadelphia scene for a while. And all of that encouraged me to learn more about music so that I can be a better writer. In terms of influences, yeah, there's some popular folk as well, like Stevie Wonder, the late Prince. People always talk about this thing of Michael Jackson and Prince and whether they ever get on the stage together. I enjoyed both of them. Michael Jackson, great singer, great entertainer. But when it came to writing, I just loved listening to Prince's writing. He was just an incredible writer and arranger that I think he was a great influence. I did love listening to Marvin Gaye. And then I liked recently I learned about Bartok and things, but I like listening to the Beethoven and Mozart. So there were quite a few different influences for me in terms of being able to write as a singer or or for instruments, either or. Famous people and non-famous people. Anything that I could get my hands on that was music, anything that I could be in a tangible distance to music, I was there. There's 3 songs, and 3 of them are "Lonely Heart," which was actually a poem by a lady named Eve St. Gerard, and she's a neighbor of mine. And years ago, this song, I heard it. I heard the poem, and I said, "All right." We got together, and I put some music to it and a melody, and then I just started. That song has always been with me. It's probably in my second project. It was there, and I did a retake on it. I just finished the University Arts Masters of Music in Jazz Studies program. So I used that. It's one of my pieces that was recorded actually with the school. And I'm definitely thinking, and I thought, wow, it would be great to put this song into the Philadelphia Real Book. It's a great song, and where I've gone and performed it in a lot of places. The To Be, I wrote that song. I was in Angola at that time. I spent about 10 years in Angola, and it was just one of those songs. I just wrote it. So I guess it was a moment of desire for what I really wanted. I was there. I was teaching, and there was a lot of popularity that I had gained while I was there for teaching. Then there was a televised program that I became teacher, the vocal coach for contestants. So I got a lot of airtime, but all that still, what was in my heart was this musician still wanting to perform and still wanting to write. And so I think at that moment, that's where To Be came from. So it's kind of a special song to me, and a special moment in my life. And then the other song, So Smile. Wow. And all this stuff that was been going on in the news and the political atmosphere and all this stuff that was going on, I just felt I needed to write something that would make people smile. And it's a fun little song. So I wrote it just for that purpose, just to lift myself up, lift whoever hears it up, and not necessarily related to any particular one thing. It was just that moment in time. I think there was a reason to need to smile, to have some joy inside. So that's where that song came from. As a writer, it's almost like, I don't want to compare it to giving birth to children, but it's almost like giving birth to something. it's a creative process, and I want as many people to play it as possible. And when I envision it being on a bandstand or hearing it in a club, I kind of hear it. I kind of hear it upbeat, swinging hard, and someone being able to bite. I bite into it because I did give it some of the traditional 2/5 elements. 2/5 element is jazz. So those kind of chords, some of the traditional chords, and so someone can actually swing on it. And if you wanted to groove on it, you can. I like grooving, but that one was really written for the swinger, and that can be taken all kinds of ways. That was really written for the person who likes to swing, and I can really see a soloist finding the joy inside themselves and connecting with an audience with that song. I've known Leon Jordan Sr. for a long time. I've known him before I went to Angola. That was in 2004, and I've had the pleasure of playing with him for certain engagements, and I did a lot of theater earlier, so I would call him. And Leon Jordan played on my senior recital when I graduated from Temple University, my undergrad. So that was some years ago. So I've got to know him for a while, and it's always a pleasure to play with him. Great musician, just about play anything you want him to play, he'll play it. So it was easy when I made that call. I was just also Lee Smith. I'll tell you, I've seen Lee Smith play. I've met him several times, but I think we've only gotten the chance to play this year. So, and it was great pleasure to play with him at Eddie V's. Played at a place called Eddie V's, and the first time we were supposed to play together, I was subbing for someone, and I didn't get the memo that the band was already in place. So I had two bass players show up, and that was kind of like, oh boy, So we were able to work it out. Lee went home that day, but I said I gotta get Lee. I gotta make it up. I did something else to help make it up, but he was a good sport about it, and so I had called him for two other engagements there at when I needed someone to play at Eddie V's, and that was so much. It was so much fun. Great swing, great feel all the way around. Great bass player. So calling him for this was just when I was thinking of some of the songs, I thought, yeah, he would fit perfectly, and so he's here. And then Yiming Lin. We were schoolmates, colleagues we were colleagues in school, and at the University of Arts. So I know he just graduated today. Today he received his diploma, which is great, and I just thought the first time I heard him, he has a phenomenal sound. Great time, great concepts. I just wanted to have him, I needed to hear some lines and have him solo, and so this is kind of like a dream team I put together. So I'm really happy, and I'm happy that they like playing with me. So that's good.
Oh, great. And just finally, if you can just briefly say what you think about Jazz Bridge and this endeavor and what it means to you.
Well, this is a great endeavor. This is great. I mean, first of all, the idea of putting together a Philadelphia Real Book. I mean, being able to archive Philadelphia musicians' work is an awesome thing to do. And then also the work that they do. I mean, on stage and off stage. I mean, as a jazz musician, I mean, I have to take my hat off to them, because They do great work. I mean, and then being a part of this program, well, doing the book and being a part of this program, I saw Adam Falk at one of the programs, was great. So I just wanted to be a part of this anyway, so this is great. Thank you. It's gonna be alright now.